Hey everybody, what's up? It's Seth. It is July 10th today. On Wednesday the 4th, I had my birthday, which was awesome. Had a good time with people that I've been getting to know this summer, and hung out with some awesome trans guys, and then hung out with old friends, and I've just felt way more involved in the queer community than this whole week or the whole summer, I guess I should say, than I have been in the past. So yeah, it's a good feeling. And I got some really awesome birthday gifts. I got a sick, awesome, that's a dinosaur, by the way, collection jar for top surgery. Um, and I've been filling it with some monies. The sad part about this is that, I really have had to cut back on things that I do during the summer because I'm saving. Um, but, like, to see this fill up slowly with money that I would have spent on, like, drinks or food or whatever is kind of awesome. So, yeah, if you guys know my chip in, or I'll put the link down there. I'm still obviously saving for top surgery, and I do think that I may be able to get it um, in the next year if I have a big loan, obviously. And Dr. McDally does the procedure, the periareolar procedure, for $5,995. So that was a huge change. To see that price, and in the past, all the other doctors I was looking at who'd emailed me back with price um, estimations said 8,200 to 11,000. That was like their range. So to hear that it was like almost half that was sweet. So yeah, on my birthday I got a book. It was kind of a book that I gave myself, but it was also kind of a present from my mom. It's called Becoming a Visible Man by Jameson Green, and what's awesome is it's got a nice little subtitle, not just chapters, but also little highlighted blurbs, and so you can skip around and read whatever passage you want for the day, which is nice. You don't have to go through his whole history. You can get to the parts like the visible dilemma or the visual willful destiny or whatever, and that section has really been important to me. I think I'm having a huge visibility dilemma in my life. I, haven't had the opportunity to go in queer spaces for the past year. I was up in the East Coast at college, and then I was also in Paris, and then before that, I was still at school. So yeah, being back in Portland has been really nice, and it's also presented some odd situations that have kind of challenged what I thought about how I was being perceived, and things like that. So I'm going to read a little passage and then talk a bit about how it kind of affected me. Gender is a type of language, and there are some very adept individuals capable of speaking many dialects as well as derivative languages. Cross-dressers, drag queens, and kings, androgynous transgender people, butches, and femmes of either sex, and many transsexual people all may draw upon gender interpretation skills that non-transgender people have not cultivated, or for whom they are unnatural. And then it goes on to talk about expressing this language and dialects, and how those could be interpreted or misinterpreted by others. So for me, I mean, that's really important. In the past, I think I kind of used to have these days. I always have been masculine. I've always kind of acted that way, had those mannerisms, as people have told me. And I never had those days where I wore dresses or had long hair or went to prom as, girly girl, anything like that. I have always dressed masculinely. And so I did, though, kind of have this performative side of myself that was a little more cross-dressy. Like, I was feeling a little dysphoric one day or whatever, and I would put on this certain pair of jeans that was baggier than the other, or, layer t-shirts or whatever. I used clothing as my way of communicating with the world, obviously, as a lot of people do. And now, it's kind of ironic, that pair of jeans that I used to use on those days, just because my body has changed on testosterone, doesn't fit. I mean, it fits. Like, it looks like a regular pair of jeans. It doesn't look overtly masculine anymore. And if I were to put on things that made me look feminine, for example, other things that I used to wear when I would go into queer spaces, they don't really make me look feminine anymore because of the way that my face has changed, my voice, my hips, my fat has just redistributed, things like that. So I'm recognizing that I don't really have that language aspect to myself anymore. My body is now kind of talking for me, which erases a huge amount of stress, a lot of worry that I used to have, whether or not it was helping me pass. And, bathrooms, things like that. I feel like I have this backup with me, which is my own body and my own voice and my own looks, that is really comfortable. I'm not constantly testing boundaries and asking how to be, asking how people are perceiving me. It's kind of like I'm telling how I want to be perceived. And this is how I've always kind of acted and wanted to look, but haven't really been able to without hormones. However, this isn't really a negative, but this is what's been fooling me all summer, and I'm kind of confused by it. I have been now going into queer spaces and hanging out with trans individuals, genderqueer individuals, people of all kinds of orientations, sexuality-wise, and it's so diverse here in Portland that it's really the visibility thing is an issue because I want to be people communicate differently when they know that you have something in common with them, when they know that you have similar histories and that you're interested in the same things. That's normal, basic. But I have found that I'm like trying so hard to communicate that because now my body makes me pass as straight or cis to other people. So I find myself at the beginning of the summer, I was like, people will be talking and maybe something would come up with binders or packers or girlfriends or something. And I always was like dropping in these little tidbits of my trans history so that people were like, oh, he's trans, da 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 da. And I totally noticed the way that their communication changed towards me. And yeah, it's like you're able to become part of the group again. But the other night, I totally forgot about all of that, and I was out at these queer bars or just spaces where there were other people around, and I was with a group of people the whole night, and one of them, we hadn't met before, we were hanging out, they weren't really talking to me much, but I was talking to everybody else, and by the end of the evening, I was about to leave, and they came and sat down next to me, and were like, whoa, I did not know that you were trans. I guess they'd either heard from someone or something, in our group, and they sat down and they were like, you're passing so well, like, I just want to say, like, congratulations, like, I didn't even know, I thought you were a cis guy the whole night, and da 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 da. And then we continued to kind of like communicate, and it was a weird kind of conversation because then someone else came and sat down next to me, and I tried to kind of communicate back by saying, oh, that's so interesting, like, I've always wondered if the queer community had a trans dar or not. I've always had like a gay dar or lesbian dar my whole life, but I've never really known if testosterone was something that would help you pass in the queer community as well, or if people could kind of pick up on the cues because they're part of the queer community and they know other trans people. I don't know. So it was really interesting to feel like I finally had that question answered by someone that like even they thought that I was cis, and that totally changed the way that they communicated towards me, and it was just so interesting because I thought that everybody in the group knew and we were routing around all night, and I don't know. So that's something that I'm kind of battling, is like how to make myself visible. And I have to say the most liberated and free feeling I had was being at Pride and having that trigender trans symbol on my back, and it said trans and proud, and I didn't have to explain it to anyone. I've had a lot of weird incidents with, being in places and having a lot of gay men looking at me and not knowing how to really communicate, because I'm in a queer space, so obviously I look male and I'm there for that, but I, still identify as being interested in females or femininity, and so I don't know. It's just been really interesting, and I'm still trying to figure it out, but I thought I'd make a vlog about it. And I'm running out of time, so I can't really say anything else. Damn.